What's up, everybody? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. For this Tuesday, December 1st, 2020, I am your host, Russ Williams. So glad you could be here today. I'm quite aware you could have been anywhere in this world today. I know you could have been anywhere in this world today, but you decided to be here with me, and I appreciate that. And more importantly, I appreciate you. So welcome to Transition Tuesdays on this fast-paced Tuesday, December 1st. Man, ladies and gentlemen, we have a action-packed show today. I got a special guest coming along shortly as well. But before we do that, I'd just like to state my intentions for the show, and it never changes. My intention is to give you the opportunity to laugh, smile, think, and engage in honest conversations about your life's transition. So that's what we do here. And speaking of honest conversations, I have on the Transition Tuesdays hotline my special guest. Special guest, are you there?
I'm here, Russ.
All right, good. Okay, so special guest, let me bring you out the right way, man. I'm gonna bring you out with this extensive bio. I'm gonna try to give it, some justice while I read this off. All right, here we go. So my special guest is a New York City native, born and raised and educated in Harlem in the Bronx. He attended and graduated from All Hallows High School. We just had Tony Childs on here last week, who graduated from the Pristine High School. And this guest, he played for 3 seasons at the varsity level under famed high school coach John Carey. He was a 3-year starter at All Hallows, where his senior year, he averaged 17.5 points. I'm going to round that up to 18, man. He averaged 18 points and 5 assists. We're going to make it 10 assists. We're going to, as the years go by, we forget the memory. So we're going to add it. We're going to make it 10 assists he averaged, man, to lead All Hallows to the Archdiocese of New York York's Class A championship title. And in the CHSAA over ranked schools such as St. Raymond's and Rice High School. Now, after high school, my guest was highly recruited and chose Manhattan College as Fran Fraschilla. We had Fran on here a couple weeks ago as his first 4-year high school New York City recruit. So this guy was the first guy. You always remember your first, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that. All right. Now, one of the key players. Now, this guy was one of the key players. And I like to call guys like this, these are glue guys. These guys you have to be successful, man. So he was one of those key players responsible for the Manhattan College basketball resurgence in the 90s. Now, finally, my guest is he's currently a VP. He's a trade finance manager at Castleton Commodities International. So, ladies and gentlemen, Transition Army, please help me welcome my good friend, Mr. TARIK Thacker, to Transition Tuesdays. Triple T, what's up, sir?
Good evening, Russ. Good evening. Thank you for the introduction, man. Much appreciated.
No problem. We got our guy, John Lee, joining us. What's going on, John? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays, my friend, my Jasper brother. We got Jasper people tuning in for my man, TARIK Thacker. This is cool. Now, TARIK, again, man, I like to make my guests feel at home, so I'm going to play a cut for you I think you would enjoy. It might have been, this is an older cut I'm going to play for you, TARIK, but you probably had this, maybe you had this cassette. I remember having this cassette when I was in high school. I had this cassette, but I used to rock this all the time. So I want to play this song for you, and it reminds me of you, man. For some reason, man, TARIK, I had to dig in the crates for this one, man. This song reminds me of you, so I'm going to play this for you, man. Tell me what you think, all right? Hold on one second. Let me get it.
Let you take her out.
All right.
Hey, yo, kicking wicked rhymes like a fortune teller. Had a dog by the name.
Can you hear that?
Oh, yeah, I can hear it.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, you know who's doing this song? You know who that was?
That's Greg Nice.
Greg Nice or Nice and Smooth called. Yep, No Delaying. That was courtesy of Priority Records. Man, oh man. So you remember the group? You remember the group Nice and Smooth?
Yes, sir.
Oh man.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, I used to love Nice and Smooth, man. And I'm a big time like cartoon fan back in the day. And I remember one thing that Nice and Smooth they should have did, man. They should have sampled this. I remember watching the Flintstones one time, right? You remember the Flintstones? I mean, I'm going way back.
Yes, you are.
Okay, I know, right? Well, they had a little excerpt on there, and the guy was like robbing Fred Flintstone, right? So he said to my man, he says, "Yeah, I want you to be careful, man. I want you to be nice and smooth. I want you to move nice and smooth. See, nice and smooth." But I remember that for some reason. I wish Nice and Smooth would have jacked that, maybe put that on their songs. They never did, but hey, I'm giving them an idea now. I think they're still together. Maybe they can rock that.
Yeah, listen, if you grew up in that age
Mm-hmm.
and you lived in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
you grew up in the Bronx, you grew up in Harlem,
Yep.
you definitely follow, who Nice and Smooth was in their journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got my man Chris B. Williams, the voice of Jasper basketball, men's and women's, joining us. What's going on, Smooth? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays.
Lefties are us.
Yes, that's right. Lefties are us. Absolutely. Hey, thinking back in the days, did you have like a famous like group that you like listening to, like when you played ball there, Tariq?
Back in Manhattan, Biggie Smalls was the artist that we listened to.
Yes.
For me.
Yes.
That's what kicked it off for us. That's one of the artists who put it in perspective for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I grew up in Harlem also.
Right.
So some of my favorite artists are some of the guys I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron, Nace. Those are guys who I knew, who I grew up with. So we would listen to them all the time.
Yep. And you know what? I was gonna play Dipset for you, man. I don't know why I didn't do it.
Hey, you go ahead, man. Like I said, those are guys I grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
knew really well, actually played with and against, my high school days and my intermediate days.
Mm-hmm. Did you play again? I know Cameron was nice. What I hear.
He was, yes, he was. Cam was a year or two younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
He also played at the Gauchos when we were younger.
Mm-hmm.
So he was serious with basketball until he found his second talent.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's cool. So back in the days, like in high school and college, well, especially in college, were you in charge of the music at all? Because you got certain guys that are like in charge of the music. Maybe you can play some things. When y'all play, were you in charge of the music there, Tariq?
No, I never wanted that responsibility. I wanted input, but I never wanted the responsibility of being in charge of the music at that point in time.
Yeah.
We had taste back then, so you had to make a tape.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. And Myra, I remember my boy Charles Dubra, Kyrie Wilson, those were the guys who used to fight over, like, who's going to play the songs when we come out and all that. I remember the big song for us was Shut It Down by Public Enemy. That was a big one. The remix. We
had to be careful at times with our tapes, Before,
I know.
As you know, before the games, we would play what we want to hear and then tone it down, once the crowd was stepped in.
Definitely. No doubt about that. So, Tariq, man, hey, I'll be remiss if I didn't ask you, how are you and your family doing during these 3 pandemics that we have here? We got COVID, you got the economy, and you got social injustice. So, how are you and your family handling all these 3 pandemics going on at the same time?
We are blessed right now in all 3 facets.
Mm-hmm.
We still have our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We're still flourishing,
Great.
In wealth and health and in the spirit. So, we're trying to keep all 3 together as we, travel this journey.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely, man. That's good. That's good to hear. So everybody's healthy. Everybody's good.
And we're being extra careful with with our arrangements, who we have over, how much time we spend outside the house.
Yep.
And we're just trying to make sure that, we keep the exposure to a minimum.
Yeah.
To outside sources.
Yeah, gotcha. Do you know of anybody that might have suffered from COVID-19 that you might have lost? Because there was a couple of people that I used to play against that, passed away due to COVID-19. Anybody that you might have known of that might have passed at all or suffered from it?
Unfortunately, too many.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, too many.
Yeah.
A number of guys I grew up with in the city
Mm-hmm.
were a little bit older than me, my age and younger, were no longer with us.
Yeah.
The people here in Connecticut that, no longer with us. And it's just unfortunate, and that's one of the things that kind of opened our eyes. We have people in our families who don't have their health at 100%.
Right.
Anything could possibly, spark, a downfall in their health, especially COVID. So,
Definitely.
we want to make sure we take that into consideration during the holidays and even back in May, May and June when things started to kick up a bit.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah.
Hey, it's to the point I haven't seen my mom since it's been a few months.
Really?
She's only an hour away in the city.
Wow.
And I haven't seen him in a while. So.
Man, yeah, but you're being responsible, which is a great thing. I know it's tough, it's tough across the board, but now I'm sure your mom will thank you for that, being responsible,
Oh yeah, trust me, she won't have it any other way.
Right.
I did see her in the spring, and when I did see her, she made me wear a mask, even though I sat, a few feet away from her. So, and I was fine.
That's right. Yep. That's how moms do, man. They always thinking about themselves and other people as well, more importantly.
Exactly.
So Tariq, man, Triple T. I love that nickname. So I remember the commentators used to say that when you used to hit a three, right? Triple T, right?
Yeah, it was funny. He was saying, he was like, look, he told me he was gonna do this. God bless Saul. I know he's not with us anymore.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, look, your number is 3, your initials and your name are 3 T's.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna put that together, and we're gonna call you Triple T. All right, you go with it. You do your job to the best of your ability.
You probably felt like a wrestler or a boxer when you used to hear that or something, huh?
Hey, I felt a little pressure because now I got to hit some 3.
That's right. Yeah, so you can hear that. So we can hear that Triple T. Did he go Triple T for 3, or he just said Triple T?
He mixed it up. He mixed it up at times.
Oh, okay.
Whether it was a jump shot, 2 or 3, and assist,
mm-hmm.
He mixed it up, to the best of his ability. So,
mm-hmm. Cool. Hey,
I enjoyed it. I appreciated it.
Yeah, well, yeah, man. Yeah, God bless the day. Yeah, he was a great announcer, man, at Draddy. Yep. I remember the voice, silky voice. Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, so Tariq, man, I know that you're a native of New York City, man. So how was it like growing up? So you grew up in both Harlem and the Bronx, or just Harlem, or?
So my official residence is in the Bronx.
Okay.
But most of my family grew up in Harlem.
Okay.
So I would spend a lot of time with my grandmother. I went to elementary school in East Harlem. So at times I would go to attend school, leave there, and go back to my grandmother's house. And I had the leisure of either staying there or going back home to the Bronx. And at times, why would you want to travel an hour on a train back up to the Bronx when the next day you have to come to school?
That's right. Right.
So, I would stay with my grandmother in Harlem, and then on Fridays I would go back home.
Oh, okay. Do you come from a big family, small family?
It's my brother and I.
Okay.
My mom, my dad, so it was 4 of us. But, outside of that, yes, a number of different uncles and aunts, a number of different cousins. Like I said, most of my family is from Harlem. My mom grew up on the west side of Harlem and then moved to the Bronx at an early age.
Now, is your brother older than you or younger?
He's younger. He's younger about 4 years.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay, so you're the big brother there.
Yeah, I'm the older brother.
Oh, okay. Did you play a lot of sports like growing up when you were growing up?
In leisure, yes.
Right.
Tag football, touch football. Things like that, playing in the park. But from a formal standpoint, it was just basketball.
Okay, cool.
Just basketball at a young age.
Gotcha. So was it that one person or that one thing that introduced you into basketball? Like, what was it for you for basketball? Like, was it that one person that introduced you?
But for me, it was my dad would take me out at a young age and play basketball. But like every other young kid, it kind of started in the house with your puff set.
Yep.
Your nerve set. It started with that. And then, I used to watch basketball with him, watching the Knicks, watching college basketball. But then it started to transition outdoors, him taking me outside, playing on my own. Then he would leave me alone. And this happened in the Bronx. So this would be like on the weekends.
Right.
But now, I'm getting outside. I'm riding my bike. I got my basketball with me. I'm going to different basketball courts in Parkchester. In the Parkchester area of the Bronx, you have a number of different basketball courts back in those days. And I'm sure you even played against and know some of the gentlemen who come from Parkchester. You had your Gary Massey who played at Villanova.
Yeah.
Mike Thompson who played at Drake Crew.
Yes.
Those guys were older enough, and they were in the park when we were younger. So now you can't play with them because you're not good enough, So, at a young age, I'm in the park and playing by myself, getting used to shooting, jump shots, layups. So now I start playing with some of the other guys, my age, a little bit younger or older, and so now I'm getting more confidence. I'm playing with them, and we start to get to know each other. But I don't know them as well because I'm transitioning and I'm going back and forth between Harlem and the Bronx. So my weekdays in Harlem, being that my dad introduced me to basketball, I went to a after-school program called the Upward Fund. Upward
I remember
Fund
that.
was you remember the Upward Fund?
Yep, I do remember that. I never played, but I do remember the name, the Upward Front. I do remember that.
So the Upward Fund was an after-school program located on 120th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue. It was a non-profit program. They offered athletics and they offered academic support after school, along with some other services for the kids in the neighborhood. So after school, like as I said before, I had the option of going back to my grandmother's or going back home to the Bronx. I would stay at my grandmother's because I wanted to attend the Upward Fund. So after school was over, I would go to Upward Fund, get my work done, study the way I might need to do. That was a prerequisite for you being a part of the program.
Right.
Then you had the option of basketball, air hockey, some other activities that they offer, to keep your physical fitness and shape and everything else. So my thing was basketball. Then they had a biddy league, so I joined the biddy league and I played in that for about 2 years. As I started to progress and get older, some of the older gentlemen who played in the upper league, who lived in the neighborhood, said, "Look, you need to stop playing in that league. You dominating it." As a younger kid, I was a little bit taller, grew pretty quickly. But at 11, 12 years old, I was like 5'11".
Man, yeah, that's pretty tall, man.
Yeah, with my family, they were on the shorter side. So, as I started playing the Upper Fund, you started to get some confidence from having some success, playing on the biddy rims and, playing the short side court.
Yep.
And that's how you start to grow. You start to get some success. And at a young age, now I'm starting to play with some of the older guys. So from that point on, from like age 12 or 13, and now I'm playing with older guys who I may be a little bit taller than, but not as strong.
Right.
But just trying to gain some confidence and play with them and learn how to play a little bit differently. Now, these are some of the same guys that are in the neighborhood, Wagner Products, where I grew up at, along with my grandmother, who I started to play with all the time. So now I'm going back and forth between the Upward Fund and then on the weekends being in the Bronx with my family, my mom, and my dad. So now I'm getting more confidence in playing with the older guys. So now I start playing with the older guys in Parkshire. And as you always know, playing in the city, you got to wait your turn. And you got to think you're good enough in order to get on that court.
That's right.
And that was the case. I had to earn my spot to get on the court.
Yep.
If you couldn't get a spot on those 4 courts, then you had to go to the next court. So luckily, we had 2 courts. There was one up the hill next to a garage and one down the hill. The older guys used to take the one down the hill, and if you were good enough, they would pick you. If you couldn't play there, the younger guys my age would go up the hill and play on the one full court.
Right.
So, it was a stone throw away from my house, my apartment where I lived at. Now we just go back and forth. And on the weekends, you play all day if you wanted to.
Definitely, man. Oh, man, I remember those days, man. we got Janine. Yep. What was that, Tariq, we say?
Just bring some water out, a towel, and you set.
You good. Yup, go get you a quart of water. You know what I mean? Definitely. We got Janine joining. What's going on, Janine? My Jasper sister joining us. What's going on, Janine? We also got Karen joining us. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays with my special guest, TARIK Thacker, or as affectionately known, Triple T. We call him that too.
Thanks for having me again.
Oh, no problem. We got my man Bruce Woods joining me, man. Oh, man, that's a blast from the past, from Justin's. Wow. Joining us here today. Perfect, man. So you're playing ball, man. You're growing up as a kid. And I remember you mentioned the names Gary Massey, which was he able to fly back then? Because, man, of Nova, that guy was flying around, man. Man, I remember that guy.
Gary was one of the guys in the neighborhood. Back then, we didn't have snapback rims.
Right.
Like, Gary would try to rip down those rims outside at the time.
Damn.
And we had the type of courts where if you gave it some leverage, they would bend on the poles somewhat.
Yep.
try to rip those things off. Yeah, he had wings at an early age.
Yes, he did.
He was a beast.
He did. And you mentioned Michael Thompson. Funny story about Mike. Every time I saw Mike this past year at the Barclays Center, Mike Thompson, I almost got him to go to Manhattan, man. He had a great visit, the whole nine, but he decided to go to Drexel, had a great career there. But yeah, I remember Mike Thompson, man. Shout out to you, Mike.
Yeah, that's family right there. Actually, Mike lived up the street from me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, his younger brother. So Gary's, I was good friends with Gary's sister, and Mike's younger brother, Rashawn. He and I were good friends also, very good friends. They live right up the street from us.
Cool.
Like 2 buildings away, as a matter of fact.
Cool. Hey, so when you were playing, Tariq, did you have a certain player that you patterned your game after at all at a young age?
At a young age, and I hate to say this now, it's hard to say it. I'm a Knicks fan.
I am too. It's okay.
I'm trying to break away from it, but I was a big Bernard King fan.
Bernard, yes.
I mean, I always try to do everything Bernard did, you know, but at that size, you realize you're not going to be 6'7", 6'8", you know, you're going to be six. I was hoping I was going to be 6'4" at a young age, being so tall, but it didn't happen. You know, but the way that Bernard King played in terms of his toughness, his smoothness, how he would get off shots, you know, I loved him as a player. Loved him.
Yeah, Bernard King. I'll share with you and everybody out there a funny story about Bernard King. So I'm going into my senior year in high school in McClancy, and I get a call on the phone during the summertime. So the guy calls, and he said, "Hello, this is Bernard King for the New York Knicks." I was like, "Get out of here." So I hung up. He calls me back. He goes, No, this is Bernard King for the New York Knicks. Hey, Tom Kinchowski, you know, Super Scout, you know, Tom Kinchowski. He recommended your name for you to be a part of my camp. We're doing a camp, the Ernie and Bernie camp, you know, with Ernie Grunfeld and himself, where they played at Tennessee. Now they were having a camp in Long Island, and he just said he recommended me, you know, to you to come on board. Would you like to play? I said, absolutely, Bernard.
You can't turn that down.
Can't turn that down, but I hung up on him that first time. I did not believe Bernard King was calling my home.
I don't know if I would have hung up.
I know.
you may not have gotten that call back.
I know. I lucked out, man. Bernard King had a great heart that day, man. He called me right back. He said, "No, don't hang up. This is Bernard King." I said, "Cool, man." Oh, Bernard King. Okay, so you patted your game, so you like Bernard King. Yeah, I used to like Bernard King, too. Bernard King was good. You know who was my man for the Knicks, who I love? Two guys I used to love. I used to love Michael Ray Richardson and Ray Williams. I used to love those two together for some reason. I don't know. I'm going way back, though. But
yeah, but hey, those are two great players.
Yes, yep. I remember Ray Williams once said, they asked him, what position you play? You know, you play the one or the two. He said, "Man, I play power guard. That's what position I play." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, he was making up positions back then. But you know what?
Yep.
He could get away with it. He was that type of player.
Yeah, he was. Big guy from Mount Vernon. Him and his brother Gus Williams. Oh, man. The Wizard. Man. So now, Tariq, so you're playing ball during, you know, growing up and stuff. And I know you played for the internationally recognized New York Gauchos as a youth, you know. So talk to me a little bit about the Gauchos, because again, I had Tony Childs on here, and that's, you know, last week, and how I met Tony. I met Tony when I played bitty ball. I used to make the commute to Manhattan, and like, you know, go to play at Riverside Church, and I share with you too, Tariq. The only reason why I wanted to play for Riverside Church, because I wanted that bag. You know, the yellow bag with the black lettering. Just like, you know, I used to love that Gaucho's bag, that black bag with like the red trim with the Gaucho and all the smoke coming out the nose. But talk to me a little bit about playing for the Gauchos, the world's famous Gauchos, man, when you were growing up.
So I'm going to take a step back. So meanwhile, being that I'm traveling between the Bronx and Harlem, as I get older and I'm starting to get better, it's funny how this occurred. The guys I'm playing with, you know, who became lifelong friends on both sides are going, "I think you're pretty good, man. You ever thought about playing any place else?" But at the time, all I played was at the Upward Front. Some of the guys who lived in the Bronx and the Portchester area also had family in Harlem, and grew up in Harlem, and they knew, what the upper form was about.
Mm-hmm.
So at that same time, they were like, well, why don't you come down and play with us one day at the Gauchos? I'm like, what's the Gaucho?
Right.
I didn't know who it was.
Right.
12, 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So they started explaining to me. I'm like, all right, let me go talk to my parents about it and see, if it's something I can do or not.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm having this conversation, and I'm going back and forth between the Bronx and Harlem, a gentleman by the name of Thurman Player, who you may know.
Yes.
Thurm would also frequent the upper front because he has family in that area too.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Thurm at a young age.
Okay.
And when I was like 10 years old, Thurm he tried to get me to play with Young Life.
Mm.
That was another program in the city that was prominent, back in those days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Thurm would try to get me to play with Young Life. Another good friend of mine, Coach Lockhart, had played with Young Life.
Mm-hmm.
And he would try to get me to come down. I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. I'm not ready.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're playing outside in my grandmother's neighborhood, Thurm would come over all the time to see us play and try to get me to come and play with him.
Mm-hmm.
But then he found out I was also going over to the Gauchos because he knew some of the guys who were trying to get me to go over there. So it was like a constant struggle of come to the Young Life, come to the Gauchos.
Right.
So I took the opportunity. I went down, and the way I didn't even try out. I just went to a practice, played, and he said, "Look, some of the guys in the program, they're older than you. You won't be playing with these guys. You'll be playing with another bunch of younger guys.
Mm-hmm.
You won." And that was it.
That was it.
That was it.
Man.
Dave Jones said, "Look, this is what we about. This is what we gonna do. This is how we do it. This is where we gonna play at." They played in a number of different areas in the Bronx, in Manhattan, at LaGuardia House, in Queens. We played all over.
Okay.
So I was on. We played. We played in LaGuardia House. Now this is back in the days when I would play anywhere between 2 or 3 games a day in tournaments.
Yeah.
So I'm playing in the upper front. I play in the tournament there. I'm done. I get out. I run down the street, down the avenue, down 2nd Avenue to LaGuardia House from 120th Street to 116th, 115th Street, playing LaGuardia House with the Gauchos. I'm playing with the Gauchos against teams like Young Life, Riverside, other local programs where the Durban player is coaching. So he's in my ear about, you should have came over here, you should have played with us while I'm playing with the New York Gauchos. So, that whole period, as I was younger playing with the upper front, starting to play with the Gauchos, he was still trying to pull me over, but after a while, I was like, no, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
I know he's not going to come over. So, playing with the Gauchos from the age of 13 to 17 was a great experience for me.
Wow.
They taught me discipline, toughness.
Toughness, definitely, yep.
There's many different coaches that had different aspects to their game at that point in time. And the one gentleman who I will always give respect to, and not that I don't give respect to any of them, but the older gentleman's name is Mr. Page. I don't know if you ever met him.
I think I did, yes,
Mr. Page would sit down with you, talk to you, break it down to you. And I started working with him at a young age, too. Mr. Page would work with guys like Rod Strickland, Jamal Mashburn.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard the stories, but he had these workouts where they were drooling. You would be in the gym just sweating yourself off. It consisted of calisthenics, unorthodox ball handling drills, unorthodox light weightlifting. He would have you dribbling up the hill in front of his house, down the hill in front of his house, while cars are in the street.
Man.
Just doing things to bring about your awareness and your toughness to make you, if you want to quit, go ahead and quit, but don't come back.
Right.
You knew if you quit on Mr. Page, you couldn't come back. Couldn't come back. So, with those type of workouts, along with our practices with Dave Jones and Dave McCullough, those were great experiences. And also playing with some of the guys that I played with who I knew, from a young age of 12, 13 years old up until, still know these guys now. We had great teams there. So that was a great experience between, traveling all over the country, team, everybody that was on the team I played with, we were Division I players.
See, that's good stuff there.
Tyler Brown, Sherwin Anderson, myself, Ray Tuma. We had a number of different guys who went anywhere from a high Division I to a lower and mid Division I. So it was a great experience.
That is cool. That's cool. We got Donna Siebel joining us. What's going on, Donna? We got, a Hall of Famer joining us. We just had Donna on, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. Welcome, Donna. Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. We also got Christopher joining. What's going on, Christopher? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Perfect. Hey, so you had a great experience with the Gauchos, traveling team. You still friends with your friends now? You still good with your friends now? Did you have that? You got that bag. I'm sure you had that bag. That bag, again, that was the thing for me. That traveling bag. Oh man, I used to love those bags, man.
So let me tell you, that for us it was nothing, and I'll tell you why.
Right.
We knew that if we were on the team, we were going to get those.
Yep.
We had a different array of bags. We had the black and orange. Not only the bags, Russ, the jacket.
The jackets too. Yes.
So the black and orange, the red and white.
Yes.
The blue and orange.
Yes.
Sometimes when we would go on specific trips, we would have special gear.
Yep.
If we went to a national tournament, we may have another set of uniforms. Playing in things like Little Lad. I know you remember that.
Oh, Little Lads, yes, in Jersey, yes. I played with Elmcore when I went that 1 year. We won it 1 year too when I went. This back in the day, yes. Little Lad, you had to be under. Was it like 5'3" or 5'4"? You had to be. It's like really small. You had to be under.
Yeah, there was a height restriction at some point, but then they lifted it after a while.
Okay, gotcha.
But like tournaments like that, like I won MVP at a younger age.
Wow.
Things like that, it was good.
Man.
Good. 1 year I won MVP, 1 year I was all team.
Man. Hey, Tariq, did you ever play in Golden Hoops at all when in high school?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yes.
With the Gaucho.
Oh, yes. Oh, man. Yep. I played with Elmcore. Man, I tell you, man.
One of the best tournaments ever. If there was a chance to bring it back.
Yes, I agree, man. At Columbia University. We got to have it at Columbia.
Yeah, well, first, at some point, it was at City College, I think, right?
Yeah, it was at one point, but then they had it. Yeah. That's what I remember watching Strickland and those guys when they had it at Columbia University. And it used to be hot, but it used to be air conditioned. Oh, it used to be ram-packed in there. Yup, Golden Hoops, man.
Then they moved it to Columbia.
Yep. Yeah.
Great tournament. And playing in things like Rucker, 145th, and Phoenix. And tournaments like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of set the stage for bigger things.
Definitely.
And not to mention when you're playing with the Gauchos, there's a reputation and there's a persona that you have to uphold because you got the guys younger than you.
Yeah.
Who turn out to be all city players. All state, so you kind of got to keep it going.
Yeah.
Just to stay on board.
Yep.
And everybody wanted to play. At the tryouts, there would be 150 guys at tryouts.
Yeah.
Tryouts would last 3 to 4 days.
Yep. Man, I know. And like me growing up, again, I lived in Queens, but I like to make the rounds to play in the city and stuff like that. But I used to remember the Gauchos. They used to have the backcourt. Now, I'm going way back now, Tariq. It used to be Arnold Bernard and Jamal Walker. I don't know if you know these guys, but
yeah, I know A-Train.
Yo, A-Train. Yo, this guy was so small, used to terrorize cats, was so good, man. All those guys, Darryl Reed, all those cats, man, and the coach. Oh man, I used to love going against the Gauchos, man. I didn't like playing against them too much. Because I know those guys used to give me the business. But
Darryl Reed was the St. Raymond's guy. I definitely know that.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Yep, a little bit about St. Raymond. We my senior year, we had to beat Darryl Reed and Chucky Martin and all those guys when we beat them in the quarterfinals of the city. They had a 16-game winning streak. They played McClancy. We had to give them the business. Enough said on that. We'll talk about that some other time. But no, man. Okay, cool. So you played with the Gauchos, the world's famous Gauchos. So now let's talk about high school, man. All Hallows. Now you went to All Hallows and you played varsity for 3 years. You started. You were a 3-year starter too, as well at All Hallows.
Yep, I was a 3-year starter at All Hallows.
Man.
My
Mm-hmm.
Playing with the Gauchos, there was this thing where they wanted to make sure you went to the right school
Okay.
to have opportunity to play. You know, you represented the Gauchos. They wanted to make sure they kept the city basketball going in a certain direction.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm making a choice as to what high school I'm going to go to, I'm not even thinking about Catholic school. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm going between Harlem, East Harlem, and the Bronx.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not really thinking about going to school in the Bronx. I'm actually thinking about going to school in Harlem.
Right.
In Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So Manhattan Center comes about.
Manhattan Center, right. Yep. That's close to you.
Because
Right.
I didn't live too far. My grandmother didn't live too far from Manhattan Center. I know a lot of guys that went there.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm thinking about going to Manhattan Center, at the time, Coach Evander was there. So he would come over to Upper Fund. You know, he knew certain guys. He'd seen people playing in the LaGuardia House, certain tournaments. You know, he started to find out who was who's in the area, try to, you know, get the momentum going for the next incoming class.
Mm-hmm.
As some of the coaches at the Gauchos, Dave Jones, Dave McCullough, started to find out, they're like, "Nah, you're not going there. That's not a place for you.
Right.
That's not a place, you know, for you to go. You're better than that."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm better than that. I'm like, they got some great players there.
Right.
Right? Because at the time, a good friend of mine, Andre McCullough, was there.
Yes.
You know, you had Frank Weston was there. I don't know if you know Frank Weston. Frank was good. Frank was Spence dude from the city. Frank was really good.
Going way back, they had a guy by the name of Duncan Hines too, who passed.
I was about to mention Carl because I know him personally.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yep.
And yeah, he was there too. And I guess I got a story with him. I know him pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a conversation with him about going there.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "Nah." He said, "Don't go there. Don't do it." He said, "You know too many people in the area. It's gonna be too many distractions for you.
Definitely. Yep.
Don't go there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go there." So now I'm talking with with the Gauchos about where to go to school at. And the coach of St. Raymond's at the time, Gary DeCesar.
Gary DeCesar, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I lived a stone's throw away from St. Raymond, and we used to play at this gym up the street going towards Castle Hill called St. Helens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, everybody in the Bronx who knew they wanted a good run on Sunday night would come to St. Helens and we would play.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Thompson, Gary Massey, Brian Reeves, Red Austrie.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out names. A lot of guys from Talentine, guys in the Parkchester area. Everybody would go up to St. Raymond's on a Sunday night. Father Durbin would open the gym at like 6 or 7, and we played at like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Mm.
Mind you, you had to be good to stay on that court because there's like 6 or 7 people who got next and just waiting to get on the court.
Yep. You got to win. You got to be nice.
Yeah. So Gary DeCesar's in there, he's looking at who's coming up, who's coming in. So friends of mine, Michael Thompson's brother, went to that elementary school that we played at. He was going to St. Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Brown was going to St. Raymond, who played with us on the Gauchos.
Mm-hmm.
And a few other guys. So Gary DeCesar is like, I know you in between trying to choose what high school you're going to. I spoke to Dave Jones and Dave McCullough. Why don't you just come to St. Raymond? Stop making it so hard. It's like a 2-minute walk for you. And I didn't want to go to St. Raymond.
Mm.
I was like, nope, I don't want to go there.
Uh-huh.
Truth be told, I value, and I'm going to say this out of respect, I value education more than basketball at that time. I was still trying to find the right balance.
Sure. Uh-huh.
I knew how some of the things were in that school. I knew my friends. I was like, you know what? I can't go here.
Yeah.
I can't go here for a number of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, Gary would always ask me. I never said that to him in that fashion, but I just always told him no.
Right.
Always told him no. He's like, come on, don't you want to play? You can be playing with Terrence. You can be playing with Book. You'll be next in line. I'm like, nah, I don't want to play.
Pass on that, right?
Yeah, I'm a pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew they were good. I just wanted a situation where I could kind of grow into without nothing being in the way.
Sure. Uh-huh.
And at the same time, getting a great education.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that the education at St. Raymond wasn't great.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was better out there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I was speaking to a number of different people. And I'm gonna just say this: the rest of my 4 years, Gary DeCesar never let me live it down. Every time we would play him after the game, before the game, if I saw him in the neighborhood, me and Gary were good friends. when I went on recruiting trips, he would if I was going on any recruiting trips with some of the St. Raymond's guys, we would all meet up and we would go to the airport together. He would take us because he lived in the area. So he would just always be in my ear. He was like, "Look, you can still transfer." and this is before some of the younger guys who used to play at the Gauchos and Riverside, that were younger than me, were coming to the school.
Right.
You can still transfer. You can still transfer. You should get out on Hollows. Nobody's gonna come over there. And I'm just like, nah. I'm confident where I'm at. I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah, man. So you played at All Hallows with the famous Coach John Carey. Man, I tell you, like I shared with the audience last week when I had Tony on. Every time when I used to be at camps, Coach used to always have this thing. He bring out the best campers, and he always had you do that reverse ass pivot move. And I didn't know what I to this day I don't even know how to damn do the thing. He still get everybody on it. Do a reverse pivot. Do you know all about that?
Do I? Me being a point guard under Mr. Carey, he made us understand what a normal pivot was in the first pivot, and he made you do it about 100 times each until you got it right. Don't ever be in practice in a situation where you should have reversed pivot and you could have used it. He would make you just do it in front of the team multiple times. I mean, it could have been embarrassing, but you got to expect that out of Mr. Carey. That's the type of coach he was.
Yeah, he definitely was, man. I remember he used to get everybody on. Nobody could do it.
Yeah, he drilled the fundamentals into you. So.
Man, so you there All Hallows for 3. I mean, that's already starting for 3 years, playing on varsity for 3 years. I mean, me coming up, I remember like I went to Powell Memorial first, and then the school closed, and I transferred to Monsignor McClancy. But I remember my sophomore year, I got moved up to varsity, and then I played 2 years after that. But I never played 3 years like you. That's like such a rarity, man. That's good stuff. At a great program too.
You know what? During that time, playing 3 years on a varsity, maybe in your time it was a little different.
Yeah.
Coming in our time, that was the normal. That was the norm.
Okay.
That if you were good enough that you played 3 years in varsity. Actually during my freshman year, before when I came into the school, I sat down with Mr. Carey and I talked to him. I'm like, look, I'm coming in. I'm eager to play. How's the varsity looking? Lo and behold, the varsity team was ranked top 5 in the country.
In the country, man.
Year.
Right.
My freshman year. They were actually number 1 at a certain point in a few years. And that was the year they lost to Jamal Masper and Carly Hayes in the city championship. But they were very good. But at the same time, I felt I was better than some of the guys on the team. And I said, look, if I can't play on varsity, at least can I practice? And I would always beg him. I was begging him. Right. Going to class, if you walk down one side of the school, you would walk down the staircase past Mr. Carey's office going to the gym. So I would stop in there all the time, and we would chit chat, and we would talk. And I would beg him, come on, let me play. Let me just at least practice. Let me at least get a couple of practices, man. And finally, he pulled me into the office. He said, look, I don't know if anybody else knows this, but he said, look, I can't let you play varsity. I'm not saying that you're not good enough. That's not the case.
Right.
You are good enough. He said, but I can't let you play. And this is why I respect Mr. Carey. He said, I can't let you play because if I let you play, it may hurt some of the egos of some of the other guys that are on the team.
Yeah. Yep.
And the other guys on the JV team. And I can't do that. So you sit and be patient. You do what you need to do, refresh your team, keep working, and then we'll revisit everything, going forward.
Right. Man.
So after that, I stopped asking.
Right.
I just kept working. I just kept working.
Right. Just kept working at it. Man. So you had so talk to me about your senior year. How far did you guys go into CHSAA during your senior year?
So throughout, I'm gonna give you a short version of each year.
Okay.
So as I said, the varsity team was performed really well the 2 years prior to me coming to our school. They had 4 or 5 guys who were Division I players. John L. Scott went to St. John's.
That's
Dexter
right.
Dunbar went to Marist.
Yeah.
Lenny Williams went to a junior college, and then he went to a Division I school in Louisiana, I think Louisiana Tech. Arthur Anderson went to American Division II school. They were all quality players.
Right.
Most of those guys were Riverside guys. Ray Lynch was on that team. He went to Bowling Green State, and then Colin Johnson, who was probably one of the most talented players on that team, was with them.
Mm-hmm.
They were ranked highly. In my sophomore year, I made the team. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the starting point guard.
Okay.
Man. Because of their success in the last 2 years, that granted us openings into some of the high caliber tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
The only 2 guys on that team that were prepared were the 2 seniors that year, 3 seniors that year.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Lynch,
mm-hmm.
Colin Johnson, and another gentleman.
Okay.
Right. One of them didn't get much time. Colin winds up leaving, so he leaves the school. He transfers to Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing a tournament against top 10 teams in the country.
In the country,
We
yeah.
go up to Chicago. We're playing against Martin Luther King. We go down to Florida. We're playing against I forgot the name of the school, but we played against like high caliber tournaments. We played in one tournament. We played against about 5 or 6 NBA players.
Man.
Truth be told, we weren't ready.
Okay.
We weren't ready for it. We
Right.
lost to one of the best teams in the country by 1 point. We played as hard as we could, but just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
That kind of alerted me to, you know what this is about. I got to work even harder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, at that time, I already knew Tone. I had met Tone the prior year because the Gauchos, they were a program that supported you in going to Catholic school from a financial aspect.
Yeah.
I wanted to break away from that, so I was a part of a program where they were sponsors for young men who could not afford, to pay for schooling at the time.
Uh-huh.
And so the gentleman I was hooked up with, I met him several times, but he really wasn't hands-on, and we all know that it's also a tax break.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Carey actually got me into that program.
Mm.
I went back to Mr. Carey and said, look, I appreciate you getting this program, but the gentleman I'm with is, he's not showing up. There's different events. I'm there by myself. I have to, get acclimated with other people. He said, don't leave it yet. I said, well, at this point, I may have to leave and go back to the Gauchos and, rearrange things with them.
Right.
He said, don't leave yet. I'm going to make some phone calls. He introduced me to Tone.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you know the story. You know the relationship.
Yeah, because Tony Child, he's the guy who won a state championship at All Hallows and became like your mentor, right?
Mentor, friend, best friend.
Yeah.
So from that point on, so now we talk about sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
Tony is stopping by the school. He decides to coach there, so he starts working with me on certain things. I'm breaking away. I'm still playing with the Gauchos, but I'm kind of breaking away from certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to work out on my own and not just be so blindsided by just what they're doing over there. It's great,
Mm-hmm.
but I was the type of kid. I didn't always want to be stuck in that one situation.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of grow outside of the situation I was currently in. So,
right.
He used to work with me in the gym. Back then we didn't have a shooting machine.
Right. Oh yeah. Right. Yep.
So what we would do is we would put up nets. He would put up the volleyball net in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And we would raise the volleyball net to its highest, and we would shoot over the volleyball net.
Wow. You had to make do with what you had, yo.
Yeah, because we didn't have that. We didn't have the apparatuses that high schools have now. We didn't have that.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
So that sophomore year. So going into junior year, we're those seniors who were there, they leave. We didn't have a great sophomore year in the city. We get into junior year.
Uh-huh.
Now it's myself and one of my best friends in the city, Rance Porter. Right,
Mm-hmm.
we're in the backcourt together.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have size. We have some quickness. We got some skill. But playing in the Catholic High School League, especially in the Archdiocese Manhattan Bronx League, you needed some size.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
We're playing against St. Raymond's, Rice, LaSalle. Mind you, we're playing against 7-footers, 6'8" guys, 6'6" guards.
Mm-hmm.
We're small. The season don't go so well, but we get to the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
and guess who we beat?
Who'd you beat? St. Ray's?
No, because typically you wind up playing a crossover.
Oh yeah.
You wind up playing Brooklyn Queens.
Oh, okay. Who'd
So
you?
at at the time, Christ the King was ranked highly in the country and in the city.
Oh, yes.
So first round, we wound up beating Christ the King.
Wow.
And I had a great game, controlled the game, you know, from both sides, defending, offensively. Had a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Started to get some notoriety, you know, in the city as a better player, up-and-coming player. And that's the year I started to get some letters.
Mm.
You know, sophomore year, I started to get some letters, only because I was a sophomore playing varsity.
Mm-hmm.
Junior year, I started to get more serious.
Mm. And speaking of serious, man, we got your mentor, Tony Childs, is watching us here now. What's going on, TC?
So what's up, man?
Yeah, so we also got Keisha from the D joining us. What up, though? Appreciate y'all guys joining us. So now continue on. Okay, so you beat Christ the King. Like, who was on that team with Christ King? Do you remember? It wasn't Derek Phelps in them, because that was probably before you guys, right?
No, yeah, they were older than us. So Derek Phelps was a senior when I was a freshman.
Gotcha.
So on that Christ the King team was Sunshine Smith.
Oh yes, okay.
So Jermaine also played with us at the Gaucho. He was another guy that was on some of the teams I played on at the Gaucho.
Mm-hmm.
Also on that team, the gentleman that went to Syracuse, I forgot his name. He turned out to be a shooting guard.
Oh yeah.
Italian guy.
Oh yeah, Jason Coppola.
Yeah, Jason Cavolo. Yeah.
Yes.
He was on that team, and there was one more gentleman. No, Kevin Simmons had left it. Kevin was there.
Okay.
There was somebody else that was there.
Man, so y'all wind up beating them, man.
So we wound up beating them, and we go to the next round.
Mm-hmm.
We lose. I forgot who we lost to, but we wound up losing the next round.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, you know, I started to feel better about where I was at in the city.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of a guard, trying to get my hands on what I need to do to get better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let Mr. Carey help me out and let Tony help me out, you know, as best as possible.
Yep.
Still playing with the Gauchos, traveling around, you know, going to Vegas, you know, going to the big-time tournaments in Ohio, you know, just making sure I stay on the right track.
Right.
But and it's funny because at the time, you know, although you play with the Gauchos and you're around all these, you know, all-city, all-state players, I really wasn't thinking, am I really a college player? You know, it just it didn't set in immediately.
Right.
It didn't really set in.
Uh-huh.
When it actually set in for me, and this is one of the things that Mr. Carey does. When you have mail coming in and you have letters coming in, he doesn't give that stuff to you.
Yes.
Or at least he didn't do it to me.
Right. Oh yeah. That was the way back then. I remember my high school coach Donnie Kent. He didn't give me letters till like after my junior year, I think it was.
So now I'm in my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
So he pulls me into the office and we have these long conversations. And I just want to give you this stuff. And he gives me this box of letters. I'm like, how long has this been coming in? You know, and he's like, you know, go through a few, open a few.
Uh-huh.
So we sit down and he starts educating me on the whole recruiting process.
Mm.
I mean, we had like hours of talking after school, you know, just educate me about everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I didn't hear about some of it on the Gaucho side, but he's educating me on the technicality of it, the business side of it.
Yeah.
What you need to look out for, you know, making a decision, thinking down the road, you know, what these letters really mean, what some of them don't mean. Some of them are useless.
Right.
You know, some of them you can actually throw away. So, you know, we started having conversations to that facet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now I'm thinking, look, all right, I can play in college. You know, how are we going to get this done?
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Carey started making phone calls. So if you remember at the time, you had the Nike camps back then, right?
Right, uh-huh. Was it ABCD, I think it was camps?
Yeah.
Right.
You had ABCD. You had Nike camps.
Mm-hmm.
Sonny Vaccaro ran those.
Yeah.
That year, into my junior year, he broke away from Nike.
Mm.
And I know you heard the story.
No, what was that now? What's the story?
Yeah, he broke away from Nike because of some of the dealings.
Uh-huh.
And he started another camp.
Mm-hmm.
So myself, and I think you heard this from Jay, if I'm not mistaken, a number of guys in the city, half the guys in the city went to Nike.
Mm-hmm.
Half of the other guys in the city, I think it was Adidas.
Adidas, yes, uh-huh, yep.
It was either Adidas or Converse, but I think it was Adidas.
Yep, in Princeton. Was that in Princeton, I think it was?
No, we actually went out to L.A. We were in Irvine, California.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
So some of the guys in the city went to Nike, and then the other half went to Adidas.
Uh-huh.
When Mr. Carrie found out about that, started making some phone calls because I was starting to get recruited back then.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, look, my guy's one of the better guards in the city, still developing, you know, against any of these guys in the city. If you're going to invite these guys, you need to invite him also.
Right. Uh-huh.
You know, and he's calling up different coaches. The coaches are calling some of the scholars and recruiters, you know, to get my name on that list.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, I make the list.
Mm-hmm.
Get the invitation. I go out there, you know, and I perform.
Mm-hmm.
So now, you know, I'm out there with it's me, Jason Hoover, Jay Hoover, Brendan's out there. That's the first time I actually met Brendan.
Wow. Okay. So you getting a sneak peek at these guys. Okay. Before you even play with them. Okay.
A couple of guys, Gary Williams, who's from Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Hamilton.
Right.
He's out there. Freddie Freeman, some of my Gaucho guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all play together. We go out there. Kareem Reed.
Best kept secret, huh?
Yeah, it's a bunch of probably 12 of us. You know?
Okay.
And we all hang together. You know, we all hang together. You know, we making sure that, you know, we got there and you play your best.
Right.
But none of us, if I'm not mistaken, none of us were on the same team.
Mm.
So I wound up being on a team with a bunch of guys out of the Midwest.
Okay.
And I'm playing the point.
Okay.
It was myself and gentleman, another guard that went to UMass. Puerto Rican gentleman, I forgot his name. Same year as me. We wound up being a point guard on the same team. And we go out there and we perform. It's a great experience. You know, so now I come back, you know, I'm confident in terms of, you know, how I'm playing, what I need to do.
Uh-huh.
My skill set is a lot more refined.
Mm.
Throughout the season, you know, we're losing to St. Raymond, we're losing to Rice. You know, Cardinal Hayes we beat because they were kind of on the same level as we were, but
Okay.
those other teams just had size and talent. We get to the end of the senior year, and me and Mr. Carey go in the office and sit down like, look, we're going into the Archdiocese. We need to play different because we can run with anybody and we can shoot with anybody. We just can't rebound with anybody. We don't have the thoroughbreds.
Right.
How can we refine our offense and defense to win these games?
Mm.
So we come up with a different offense that we never ran the whole entire season.
Wow.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And we keep some of the defense that we have. We run a different offense. We wound up winning 3 games in a row in our side. We beat Cardinal Hayes, we beat Rice, and we beat St. Raymond to win the championship.
Man.
So now we win the Archdiocese. For me, my whole high school career, that was the icing on the cake for a couple different reasons. Everything came to a head where I finally beat the guys that I've been playing with for so long, you know, and I've been playing against. We beat 2 ranked top teams, not only in the city, but in the country.
In the country, yeah.
Nobody thought that we were good enough to beat them, right? But they thought we were good. And I always had a chip on my shoulder because I felt I was just as good, if not better at times, and that certain things than some of the other guys in the city.
Mm. Hey, Tariq, Tony Childs says triangle one and one on defense. He said that was his first year coaching. That's what he says.
Yeah, so like I said, someone used to come over and help out in practice. And, you know, that senior year, you know, we came up with different schemes, and I was not mistaken. That was one of them. You know, we had these delayed offenses. We shot a lot of. We were probably one of the first high schools to just jack up a lot of threes because we didn't have size. Mr. Carey would give us the leeway to, you know, to shoot threes because we were that good of a shooting team. We had about 4 guys who could really shoot.
Wow, man, that is cool.
You know, if I could get you the ball, if you open, I'm gonna get it to you, and you shoot it. And it helped that one of the guys on the team had the biggest game of his career. He had about 20 something.
There you go.
Mind you, throughout his whole career, he probably averaged anywhere between 8 and 10 points, but he had about close to 30 in that championship game.
There you go. Yep. Every little bit helps.
Yeah. You know, so that right there was like the icing on the cake. And there was a few things that happened with within that tournament too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I'm getting recruited, you know, I feel like schools are going to recruit me. I'm getting letters. You know, Mr. Carey sitting down with me, and we're going over who would be viable for me, what kind of education I'm looking for,
Mm-hmm.
where I may want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the schools, you know, we turn down, like, you know, I just tell them that I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Others, you know, we're holding on the hook, and then France starts to recruit me.
Now, before that, Tariq. Now, so like, who was part of your process? Was like Coach Carey was part of the process, like during the meetings? Were your mom and dad there, or like who was part of your circle? Who was like Team Tariq for you for your recruiting?
So Team Tariq was part of the Gauchos at times.
Gotcha.
Because people were contacting them also.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, Mr. Carey was also there for me all the time.
Okay.
And then, you know, my parents were the last level of support because I had to run everything through them. They basically let me make the decision.
Right.
Based on who I was dealing with. You know, they met Mr. Carey, you know, they met Tone, they met the Gauchos. They weren't educated on what that whole process meant and how to go through it. So they trusted everyone else that was around me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they trusted me in terms of making the decision that I wanted.
Right. Gotcha.
It wasn't going to be a situation where, you know, they got involved and I looked at them and said, well, you wanted me to go there. It wasn't going to be like that.
Right. Gotcha.
I'm going to make this decision.
Right.
So, yeah, so, you know, Coach Carey at home played a big role in my whole recruiting process.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, Tariq, I'm sorry, cut you. So you mentioned how Coach Fran, right? Now, before Coach Fran was recruiting you, did you know anything about Manhattan College at all?
I watched a few games on TV.
Okay.
I've never visited. Tony and I went to a game senior year.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know much about Manhattan.
Gotcha.
I knew where it was at because
Mm-hmm.
I played there before in high school. Played in the
Mm-hmm.
gym. I knew where it was at. My thought process was, if I was going to go anywhere, my fallback school was probably going to be Fordham.
Okay. Right. The arch rival. Oh my God. You almost went to the dark side.
Well, no, I almost didn't. That was the thought process.
Okay, that was your thought. Okay, good. Okay.
That was the thought process.
Okay.
But, you know, they were making a transition, and as things started to shape up, a lot of other people in the area was like, no, you're not. You're not going to Fordham. You're better than that.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of thing like, nah, you're not going to go there. That's not a consideration.
Yeah, especially when they left the MAC to the Patriot League. Yeah, it was falling off a little bit.
Yeah. So, you know, as I'm getting recruited, some schools I turned down. My dream schools were the lower echelon Big East schools, Providence, Seton Hall, at the time, Boston College.
Wow.
But I wasn't high on their list.
Okay.
I was like, I was anywhere probably between fourth and like sixth on their list.
Mm-hmm.
And Seton Hall was actually looking at me. They looked at a few other guys in the city. But it came down to one of the other guys committing early.
Okay.
And you got to remember, in New York at that time, so we're talking about 92, 93.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of guards across the board who we all knew each other and we were playing against each other, and we're pretty good. Like, if you wanted to guard, come to New York, you can get your selection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, no doubt about that. Yeah.
So a lot of schools were looking at some of the same group of guys. You know, it could be 2 to 3 guys, and not only in New York, but you got to remember across the border, across the bridge too.
Yep, you got Jersey.
You got a bunch of guys over there too. So
Yeah.
some of these same schools are recruiting some of the same guys.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
you know, it was, and I knew, you know, we knew who was getting recruited by who, because we all kept in touch with each other.
Right, gotcha. Uh-huh.
I don't care whether you was in Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Long Island, New Jersey. We all knew who was recruiting each other.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't let each other know what decisions we were making, because, you know, nobody didn't want to get caught off guard.
Right.
If you was going to commit, you just commit. You don't say nothing.
Right, yep. You play your card, you keep your cards close to the vest there.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, if you didn't pull the trigger early, you may have lost out.
Yeah.
And this is how it turns out. As I'm getting recruited, Coach Lowe, I got reached out to Tony and Mr. Carey, you know, and it started talking about myself. And I think it's because France saw me in ABCD.
Okay.
So I remember seeing Fran there at that time, and that's how that started to come about. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to bet on myself. So I kind of waited a little bit to see if there was going to be any other schools that would open up, because I just thought that I was going to play that much better going into the season, which I did.
Right.
Which I did. And actually, an offer did come out of it. I don't know if Tone remembers this. So at the championship game when we beat St. Raymond, Fran is sitting there, and he's sitting next to one of his best friends, who he coached with in the past. And this coach, at the end of the game, comes down to me as I'm walking off the court and shakes my hand and goes, "Hi, son. I'm not sure if you know who I am. My name is Randy Ayers. I'm a coach at Ohio State.
Yep.
You played a great game. And he was just truthful. He said, I actually came here to see Felipe, but to be honest with you, I've heard you play great in the other 2 games. You played great in this game. I want to give you an offer."
Wow.
On the court.
On the court, right after you finish.
Right after we finish. And we're trying to celebrate, and, we're trying to get in line and line up, for our trophies and stuff. So, I said to him, "Thank you for the offer. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Let me talk to Mr. Carey. Let me sit down with him. We'll get back to you at some point." And that right there, that felt great.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, man.
And I remember Fran sitting there, too.
Tony says, "Yup, that's what happened."
And it was funny because, Fran knew him. And I don't know whether sometimes, you know how some games are played. Sometimes you don't know whether it's a test to see if he would bite or if he was really truthful.
Right.
I took it that it was truthful, but at the same time, knowing what I know now about the business, you never know.
That's true. That's true.
You never know. You never know. So, with that being said, I was betting on myself, and I started to consider, Bowling Green, State University, along with a few other guys from the city. But I just changed my mind because that was just too far, too country, too suburban.
Right.
And then I just started to kind of focus on what was going to be the best situation for me. And as I started to, talk to other people and try to make some plans, people were looking at me like, "Why do you want him to have? You're better than that. You
right.
should be going there." And I started to think about, okay, education.
Yeah.
How I can play there. What Coach Fran was at the time. Fran was hot. Fran was energetic.
Yeah.
Fran had this way of talking to you. Fran had the same mentality, that I had as a player. He had as a coach.
Right.
I'll play anybody, anywhere. His vision fits into what I was looking for.
Yep, it lined up with to how you played in your vision. Yep.
It lined up. It lined up completely. So and at that time, I had verbally committed. Right. I had verbally committed.
Okay.
In the spring, right when the playoffs started to kick off. And inquiries were still coming in. Like I said, inquiries were still coming in, along with that Ohio State inquiry. So Mr. Carey and I sat down. We talked. What was going to be the best situation. Lo and behold, we did take our time because I was hoping that the offers that were on the table would be there. I rejected Ohio State because we found out they were going to go on probation.
Okay, so you got okay.
And they weren't eligible to play in the NCAA tournament for the next 3 years. So I said, nope.
Yeah, got to take them off the list with that one. Yep.
not doing that. So, and then and after that, Fran just, he put the heat on. And he was just straightforward with me. He said, look, I'm recruiting you, and I'm recruiting you. I'm recruiting Shandu. He recruited like 3 other guards in the city.
Shandu McNeil, from Malloy, yep.
A good friend of mine, and this is what he said. He said to me, he said, look, those other guys are point guards. Yes, you are a point guard, but I also see you play off the ball too. And he said, I want somebody that could be a little bit more versatile, so not only play point guard off the ball and maybe play some wing. Those other guys can't do that for me. And to me, that kind of opened up my eyes a little bit because that was the type of player, that's who I was.
Right.
I was a point guard that could score. I could play on the wing. You know, I was a good rebounding guard on my side.
Yep, definitely.
You know, so you know, I rocked with that. You know, especially when I came up to visit, because I visited late.
Oh, okay. Do you remember who was your host on your visit?
My host was actually Sweet.
Okay, Sweets, yes. Brent Birmingham, yes, my man.
And the reason why Sweet was my host, because Sweet used to play the Gauchos. I've known Sweet for a long time.
Oh, okay, gotcha. There you go.
Yeah. So I knew Sweet way before, you know, he even got that. I knew he was there. I knew what the situation was.
Right.
So Sweet was my host. It wasn't a hard sell.
Right, right.
It wasn't a real hard sell. You know, the success was there. Fans' vision was there. You know, Manhattan College was an extension of what Ohio's was.
Yeah.
The higher education level and basketball level. That's exactly what it was. You know, for me.
Yeah.
And it worked out in all facets from an academic standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, from a maturity standpoint, you know, up until where I'm at now. So
definitely, man. So talk to me a little bit about, you know, your sophomore year. I think you were sophomore, right? 95. Talk to me a little bit about that magical season that you had with Manhattan College. You know, getting an at-large bid. And that was unheard of from a MAC team. You know, to get an at-large and then winning that first, you know, upset victory against University of Oklahoma, and then having that tough loss in Arizona State. So talk to me a little bit about that magical season, if you could.
Yeah, that season, you know, the year before, I was a freshman. We lost to Loyola Maryland in the championship game.
Right.
I played a lot in that game. I actually wanted to finish that game. You know, Fran took me out. I think, you know, things changed. We wound up losing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I think I heard this when you were speaking with JP.
Yep. Shout out to Justin Phoenix.
Yeah, we go out to the NIT, and none of us want to be there. You know, we're like, where we playing that? We're in Richmond at the arena. It's cold in there. Yeah, we didn't want to be there.
Right. Yep.
So that kind of fueled us that sophomore year. The one thing that Fran did is that he made sure we competed. He put guys together that were going to make each other better.
Yeah, I would imagine the practices, because you guys had a squad. You had like players from like two for each position, basically, on that team.
Our practices were insane.
Yeah,
they were intense. They were high speed, intensity. Sometimes fights would break out, arguments, you know. But we respected each other, you know, and we practiced hard. We played hard. We lifted hard. We competed. You know, I never wanted anybody to get the upper hand on me. You know, other players were like that. You know, where we needed to help each other, we did. And we just worked throughout that whole season. You know, where you can contribute, you know, do so.
Yeah.
You know, every time I got on the court, I tried to contribute and make sure that I didn't drop the level of the game. Hopefully I enhanced it.
Right.
You know, and for the starters, you know, that's what their job was. Their job was to get us on the right track. But you know, as you know, we had some guys on the bench that could have been starters.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah.
we had a few guys on the bench that easily could have been starters, and when we came in the game, you know, we would change, you know, how the scope of the game was.
Definitely.
Take up the energy, you know, and we kind of did that, you know, throughout the season. As we got to the MAC tournament, you know, as you know what occurred, we lost in the championship game.
Yep.
And part of that was, you know, I guess some bad decision making on, you know, the staff alone. I'm gonna say this because the bench didn't play that much that game. You know, you left the starters out there who were probably winded and gassed at that first time, and if they didn't have it, you know, they didn't have it. Yeah. But the bench players, we didn't play that much. Man. We didn't play that much. So, you know, we lost in that game, but that didn't break our spirits.
Right.
You know,
yeah. Because what was coming up next, man? I mean,
we still went back and practiced. You know, we worked hard in those short periods of time, you know, to get ready, whether we were going to go to the NCAA tournament or the NIT, and just prepare. You know, that was part of us maturing and being a little bit more professional than we were the year before.
Yep.
The year before, we just didn't want to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys were practicing, did you have a good feeling that you guys might get in that lodge? Because you guys had a great year before that championship game. So did you guys have that kind of, deep down in your soul, you probably thought there might be a shot maybe for us?
We honestly didn't know.
Okay.
We didn't know. We were hoping because, we didn't want to play in the postseason NIT, but if it presented itself, we were going to be ready.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We were going to be ready.
Right.
You had the media around us that year, especially towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
They were at the practices, leading up to the NCAA tournament, and we didn't know. I don't know if the coaching staff knew, to be honest with you, but we didn't know.
Right.
So we were just holding on tight. We met in Zaddy, we had pizza and everything else, sat and watched it, and that just kicked it off for us.
Yeah, man. Hey, so Tariq, what was your fondest memory of that run? Do you have like one memory that you really you can go back back in time and be like, yeah, that was the point. That was the fondest memory I had for that particular run.
Are you referring to the NCAA run or just the 95 year?
That 95 year.
We played against some teams that were similar to us, and they had a few pros on it. I think part of the turning point for us that year, we played against Eastern Michigan, and they were really good. They had a point guard, Earl.
Earl Boykins.
Earl Boykins.
Yes, small cat.
He was a pro. He played in the NBA.
Yes, oh yeah.
They had a big front line. Then they had this other wing who was really good. I think he played in the league maybe a year or two, on the bench. But we wound up beating them. But that was a real good game, and I think that was kind of a turning point.
Okay.
That was a turning point. But I think the whole entire year, to be honest with you, for us, because the way we practiced, it was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Right.
The way we practiced my freshman year was different than the way we practiced our sophomore year. And I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was Fran putting more pressure on us, or guys just not being comfortable with their playing time and where they were at. Right? So you gotta remember when you coming into college, you were starting on your high school team.
Yep.
You want to play, and now let's remember, now you got a lot of guys coming in from the metro areas who played against each other too.
Yes, definitely.
Right. You got my freshman class, me, Jay, Geronimo, Brendan. You got the class behind us, Travis, Jared Stinson, Shimu, Steve McDowell. Guys who we all know and played against before, and know really well. So they want to play too.
Absolutely, yeah. To compete, man.
And then you got Keaton and Ted and JP who are like, the hell, these guys are coming in and taking my position, right? And taking my time. Like, the only one that probably didn't have anything to worry about was Big Maul.
Right, the big, big fella, yep.
Yeah, big fella. He was probably the only one that, mainly didn't have much to worry about.
Yep.
Where some of these other guys, wanted to come in and contribute and play.
Yep. And you know what, Tariq, my man Chris is saying, he says, Tariq balled out in the NCAA tournament. That's right. He says, #Lefty Love. That's true. Yes. I do remember that too, man. You balling out big time.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, so that year, we played in the MAC. I had fell and hurt my back, right? I fell on my back, and I was pretty stiff going into the NCAA tournament. And I told Doc, I said, Doc, I'm still stiff from that fall. We did all the ice baths and everything else.
I was going to say, Doc said, what did he say? Just put some ice on it.
Right, but I was taking ice baths. The day before that, I was in the NCAA tournament. So he would massage me and work me out and loosen up, my muscles. And I was pretty stiff. So if you can remember, Keegan started the game, and something happened where Keegan tried to contest a shot, and he flipped over one of the offensive guys at Oklahoma. and he was out. Now I came into the game, but for a decent amount of time I was sitting, so I had to kind of loosen up.
Yeah.
once I loosened up, I was fine. You know, so now I'm coming to the game, and you know, it still got a little stiff, but I was still playing. You know, I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do and move the way I wanted to move, but I just fought through it because, you know, throughout that whole year, I fought through injury. You know, I fought through injury. So, you know, a lot of people don't know this in that game. I finished that game, right? If you can remember, I finished that game.
Okay.
There was a point in time in the second half where they were trying to come back, and there was some resistance. And I went over to Fran, and he said, "How you feeling?" I said, "I'm okay." He said, "You need a break." I said, "No, don't take me out." Right, but listen what I said, though.
What'd you say, Tariq?
I said, "Don't take me out because you owe me."
Oh.
Now, what I mean by that is and he understands this. My freshman year in the MAC championship,
right,
to Loyola, he took me out.
Right.
And that game was going in our direction. And I thought that I was going to be able to finish that game and we would win. You know, we would win the chip. But we didn't. Right. So mind you, I didn't play that much in the championship game in the MAC. So I was like, "Look, you owe me, man. Keep me in there. I got it."
Wow.
Finish out the game.
Wow. And I bet you Coach Fran remembers that to this day, what you just said.
I said, "Look," I said, "keep me in. So you owe me." He didn't respond much to it. Okay, I got thing, and that was it.
Wow, man. My man Terrell Dozier, T Doze says Tariq tough. Absolutely, man. And check out T Doze, his show, man. Positive Impact, the podcast. You got to check that on the IG Live, man. Good job. Yes, absolutely, man. Okay, so you do your thing, that 95 year. So let's talk about some things now. So after that, Franny leaves, right? Franny goes to St. John's, right? After that year?
Well, no. So now we go through the junior year.
Okay, junior year. Okay.
So now we get to our junior year, right? Almost everybody in that team is coming back. Junior year. Right. Big Maul is gone. You know, Kareem graduates. Kareem Brown.
Right.
Who else? You know, Kid O'Keefe. Some of the guys leave.
Yep.
And we get new guys coming in. We all feeling confident. Be like, yeah, we get selected to play in the preseason NIT against Georgia Tech.
Oh, that's right.
And we all sitting down. We all worked hard that summer. We all did. Travis and Shimu went out to work with Kentucky.
Yep.
You know, everybody else worked in their game. Me, myself, my goal was to put on some more muscle and to be a little bit more resilient in terms of not breaking down and lasting a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's kind of been, you know, my downfall from high school to college. You know, my body didn't mature as fast as everybody else's body did. And that kind of goes back to high school. You know, when I was coming out of high school, a lot of people were like, "Well, why don't you go to prep school unless you can grow into yourself?"
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that.
Yep.
You know, but getting into college, you know, even working and lifting and doing everything I did, my body did not take off until my junior year. So during that summer, I was working out twice a day. In the morning, I would work out. I would do some calisthenics, some stretching. And then in the afternoon, after I left, I was interning at an investment firm in the city. I would go work out at night and then go play in the pro-am some days. So now I'm getting back to my junior year. Now I'm 195, 6'2". I got my legs back.
Solid, right?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. You know, I'm feeling the best I've ever had the last 5 years, to be honest with you. You know, now I know what to expect, you know, from Fran, the offense. I know what to expect from some of the other players. We all know what to expect from each other.
Yep.
Right? And we go into that year, and so many things happen, as you're already aware of.
Yeah.
So many things happen, you know, that try to put a negative stamp on that year.
Yeah.
You know, we fought through that year in so many ways, you know. I'm going to just point out a few things. A lot of players were getting hurt. Shimu Evans did he break his ankle? He didn't break his ankle, but he sprained it very bad. Very bad.
Right.
Justin Phoenix, Had a bad finger injury that kept him out.
Yup. I think he was lifting weights. I think he felt a weight fell, and he was telling us when he was on the show.
Yeah, he was in the weight room.
Yep.
He was lifting, and his finger got lodged in one of the weights.
Oof.
That was bad.
Yeah.
And then myself, I wound up breaking my wrist.
That's right. Yes.
I broke my wrist. Was it the first game? Whatever preseason when we played Georgia Tech, I broke my wrist that game.
Oh, against Georgia Tech, against Steph. Oh man, yeah.
You know, and that wasn't pleasant. So all the work that I did and everything that I prepared for, after a while, I felt like it was taken away because Fran had to hold me out of practices. I couldn't compete in all the physical practices. I was a physical player because I had the strength, I had the weight.
Yeah, definitely.
And I didn't mind playing that way. I couldn't compete in practice. You know, I was limited to running plays, jump shot drills, drills. You know, I was damn near like a coach on the side.
Yeah.
So, and then when I did play, you know, teams were actually focusing on the bandage and the stress that I had.
That wrist, oh yeah, we gonna have, if you're out there on the court, we're gonna have to we're gonna beat you down on that.
They were going at it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And the pain that I was in throughout the whole season was bad. It was bad. You know, and then I wound up having surgery my senior year. But, you know, back to what you were saying, so now we get to that junior year, and the season didn't tank because we did make it to the postseason NIT.
Yeah.
You know, we did have an above 500, record. You know, we got some respect back. You know, and then friend decided to leave.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Okay, so Franny leaves, then you got Coach Leonard comes in to coach you, right?
Right.
Now, Coach Leonard was a guy who played at Manhattan College, who one of the only players Manhattan College history to be drafted. You know, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but John Leonard was drafted in the NBA, I think like the 7th, 8th round. That's when they had like the big time rounds. I used to play around with him all the time. So, you got drafted? He said, yeah. I got like 8th or 9th round. I said, okay, so they had him back then. So yeah, he got actually drafted. So he comes and coaches you guys your senior year. So talk to me about the transition you had to make from Coach Franny to Coach Leonard. Now, how was that?
So the transition was a little bumpy, and I'll tell you why. You know, we stayed on campus that summer and we kept working. Myself, I was working up until the point where I had surgery. When I had surgery after that, I couldn't do anything.
Right.
But Tone had took over as interim coach and kept us going, kept us in shape. Now, and you may not know this, and I'm gonna tell this part of the story.
Okay.
A lot of people may not know this.
Okay.
So when Fran was leaving, a lot of phone calls started to come through towards some of the city players. One of the phone calls I received was from Bobby Gonzalez. Because I knew him pretty well.
Right.
Hey, you know, I'm thinking about coming up to Manhattan. I'm going to interview for the position. You know, what you think? And I'm going crazy. I'm like, shit. I've known him for a long time.
Okay.
You know, coached against him, went to camps where he was at. I would have loved to play under, Bobby Gonzalez. A little crazy, similar to Fran, but so what?
Right.
You know, with the guys on the team, we know what to expect.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
So I actually went to Mr. Burns, talked to him, and Mr. Burns said, look, we got some candidates already on board. Not sure whether we're going to consider him or not. Thank you for the input. Players' input is always appreciated. And then a couple of weeks later, we find out that he gets position. So he comes in, he gives us a feel about who he is, where he came from, which we didn't really need because we already knew. Right. You're coming from Villanova, we know who you are. Right. We know that you played in Manhattan. How the program going to be ran, what direction we're going in. His style, his coaching style was totally different from Fran. Right. X and O wise, he was good. Okay. Really good. Really good. Technical standpoint, skill set, working on, refining a jump shot, using the right proportion of your body, legs, everything else. He was good. Okay. But I think where he had some shortfalls and I say I think, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be bold to say this. I kind of know. Was from a social aspect.
Okay.
That was his first head coaching job. You know, I think he kind of fell short there.
Tough to relate to the players, probably. Tough to relate.
Relate to the players, and also when it came to recruiting. And I say this because I know this for a fact. Some of the guys that were coming into the hat that year, I knew them very well. I knew their family. I knew their parents. They played basketball with me in the Bronx. We played in different tournaments. If Fran was there at that time, those guys would have been in the seat. They would have been Jasper Green.
Yeah.
Easily. So we had 4 guys. I think Tone was integral in recruiting almost all of them. Tone knew them also. Right? So we bring them in, and they're talking to me, because I basically hosted all of them.
Right.
And they're like, Reek, you know, you guys are here. We like what you guys did in the past. You know, I want to come here, but there's one thing that I have a problem with, and that's the coach.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man. So what do? I say, all right, I'm going to talk to him. So I go to coach, and I talk to him. I'm like, coach, things seem to be going well, but hopefully you can take this criticism. And I tell him, I said, look, if you let us recruit these guys and minimize, you know, your participation in some of the things, they will be here.
Wow! So you sat Coach Leonard down, and you told him that just like that.
Yeah, I told him. I said, look, I'm just relaying the information to you.
Right.
So I've known these guys. I know their parents. You know, one of them I didn't know all that well, but I knew of them. But the other 3, I knew them real well, very well. And I said, look, you know, their parents respect me. They'll call me. You know, I can talk to them outside. You know, it's gonna happen, but they're on it's a thin line right now.
Wow.
You know?
Right.
It's a thin line. And lo and behold, they didn't come.
Man, now, do you remember those players? Would you want to mention those players?
I don't remember them. Yeah, I remember them. Guess where they went?
Where'd they go?
One went to Fordham, one went to St. John, one went to Colorado.
Oh.
The other one went to UPenn.
Oh, man. Big time.
You know.
Big programs. Nice programs.
Yeah.
But they didn't come to Manhattan.
No. So from that aspect, you know, that recruiting aspect, that was tough. And then us just adjusting to, you know, his style of play, how he wanted to play, that was tough too. Because when you're playing for 3 years under a certain structure, and then it totally changes.
Yep.
You're just not used to it, and it takes a while to get used to it.
Definitely.
You know, the game was much slower for us.
Yeah.
You know, I was coming back off an injury. I wasn't in my best shape. I had to, you know, get acclimated. We had young players come in and had to run, you know, the new schemes, mix them in with the older guys.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Yeah, and that was tough. That's a tough one. That's a tough I mean, your senior year, you know, a new coach. Yeah, man, that's a really tough one.
But and I'm gonna add one more. I actually wanted the red shirt too. To be honest with you.
Okay.
I wanted the red shirt, you know, because I felt like with my wrist injury, I'm just not going to be able to come back fully. I'm not really ready.
Right.
And you know, I talked to Mr. Burns about it, talked to Coach about it, you know, and the decision is ultimately with the coach, right? And he's like, you know, I really don't, you know, see you still being here. You know, he tried to pick up other reasons of why I should be there and so on. I was like, all right, whatever.
Wow.
I left it at that.
Oh man, I got you. So that was it. That was that was the straw there.
Hey, there's nothing else I can do. I can just express my, you know, my request.
Yep, definitely. Now, hey, I give you an A for maturity, man. I mean, here's a guy who's a senior in college and letting you and just giving it to him the real deal. Like, listen, you know, I can get these guys here, but if I need less of your participation, you know, to make it happen. I mean, you put that out there. You told him you had the maturity level to do that. And if the guy decides to do something else different, you know, hey.
I'm telling you, like it would have been a done deal.
Yeah.
Done deal. Especially when the recruits express that to you, because they trust you.
Yep.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's realistic. You know, you got to be able to relate to the coach.
Yeah.
And we all know that same coach that you meet when they come to your house and interview and meet with your parents is not going to be the same coach.
Nope.
You know, that you get on the court.
Correct.
Or even on the visit. So.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Hey, Tariq, do you have any regrets in your basketball playing career?
No, not at all.
No, that's good.
Not at all, man.
Okay.
Manhattan worked out to be the best place for me. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like I alluded to during the conversation, from an academic standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
from an athletic standpoint, you know, from a menstruation standpoint, that was probably the best decision I made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it may not have worked out fully in terms of me always being on the court or playing as much as I wanted to, but you know, if I want to compare apples to apples and throw myself into other programs that would recruit me,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have had. It's possible I may have had more individual success,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't have had the team success that we experienced.
Definitely. Yeah, nah, definitely. And like I said at the beginning of the show, man, it's like guys like yourself, guys are like glue guys. Like without guys like you don't have programs that are on the come up. You don't have that. You gotta have these guys, these glue guys. You gotta have guys like yourself who will have the cojones, the onions to go to the coach and say, listen, you stay at this recruiting process, I got this sealed and locked up for you. That's a glue guy. You know what I mean? So, you know, things could be, but again, you know, you being a glue guy like that, you know, that's why I want you to come on and talk to me about your story, man, that's a cool story, man, about that, man. But again,
Right.
you know.
And Russ, it's not only about the
Mm-hmm.
athletics either. Like the academic part, people don't realize.
Yeah.
And I give Fran a lot of credit for this too because, you know, Fran also worked the alumni.
Mm-hmm.
And my freshman year, you know, we would have alumni come to practice and they would watch us,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes while I was on the side, I would just take a minute. We weren't supposed to. I would take a minute just to introduce myself.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, you know, Frank came to me and said, "Hey, were you talking to some alumni on the side?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "There's a gentleman that you were talking to. You remember his name?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You know, give him a call. He wants to speak to you."
Mm-hmm.
That little conversation that I had and the interest that the alumni had turned into a 3-year internship for me, you know, and also a good relationship.
Wow.
You know, so like I said, not just for the athletic, but you know, overall, like I said, Manhattan College was an extension of Ohio's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was that on a bigger level.
Definitely,
You know,
man.
and to this day, I appreciate Fran giving me the opportunity to offer me the scholarship because he didn't have to.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't have turned out the way it had.
Yeah, man, that is spectacular. And again, like you said too, you know, he can't took you out of that game too because he owed you. He
Hey,
definitely.
man, look,
Yep.
that experience right there, you know, Fran and I didn't always see eye to eye,
Mm-hmm.
but after a while, you know, we had respect for each other, and you know, I always respected him. Sometimes I was immature about the way I addressed certain things,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, as a coach, he did a great job.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
he knew how to keep us going, challenging us, you know, inspiring us, you know, that giving us that energy, you know, and hopefully, you know, we gave it back. So
Yeah. Nah, definitely. And Chris says, yeah, Tariq is a professional. That's right. No doubt about that. No doubt. And speaking of professional, now, so Tariq, now I know you're currently a VP, trade finance manager at Castleton Commodities. Talk to us a little about what you do now and how long have you been there?
all right, so graduating from Manhattan with a degree in finance, I started working for a company called Costco Refining Company.
Okay.
That company was owned by one of Manhattan College's biggest donors,
Wow.
Tom O'Malley.
There you go. Okay, there we go. See that they see those connections, those relationships.
So my senior year, as I was interviewing and not looking to play basketball anymore,
Mm-hmm.
I had some opportunities. You know, I had the offer from. I'm gonna take a step back too.
Okay.
The internship that I had was with a gentleman named Robert English. He's
Okay.
also he was on the board at Manhattan and also one of the bigger contributors.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy, rest in peace. He offered me the opportunity to come work with his firm, investment firm, Newberg and Berman.
Mm-hmm.
He ran the institutional sales department. At the time, I felt like I needed to get out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
It was at that point where I was like, you know what, I want to see more. I want to do something different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was still interviewing. I didn't take his offer, but I didn't tell him no.
Okay.
I wanted to see what else I could do on the show. Then at the time, forgive me for getting his name, you may remember, the head of the School of Business at the time, do you remember his name?
Is it Dr. Suarez? Maybe.
Yeah, yes, I think that's what it was.
All right, yeah, that was my guy, Dr. Suarez, yes.
Yeah. So Dr. Suarez would always check in with me, come, checking in with me, let me know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I would tell him where I'm interviewing that, nothing's coming through. So now we're getting towards the end of the senior year,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost time to, move off campus.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to me and says, hey, I want you to give this gentleman a call. He gives me his number. I said, fine, I'll call him.
Mm-hmm.
Call him up. We have a conversation. Don't know him. He says, look, I want you to come up to Connecticut and come with me. We're going to have lunch.
Okay.
Go up there, I meet with him, and he explains to me, his position in the business, what they're doing, asks me what my plans are. And he says, if you're interested, there's an opportunity here for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn the business,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Thought about it for like a week or two, and I took him up on his offer because it was an opportunity for me to kind of get out of the city.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just needed something different than New York.
Definitely.
Lo and behold, the position was in Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut,
Mm.
in the energy business.
Mm.
So Mr. O'Malley ran Tosco Refining, which owned a couple of different refineries in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked there for about 2 years,
Okay.
which catapulted me into kind of where I'm at now, because I got to learn the energy business from the bottom up, from a marketing, from a trading, from a financing standpoint.
Wow. Okay.
Fast forward to where I'm at now. So I'm the company I currently work with, Capital Commodities International. We are a global business where we market petroleum products, energy, power, and also asset management on a strategic basis.
Mm-hmm.
My role is to continue to build some of the banking relationships, utilize those banking relationships to obtain the best working capital that we can at the cheapest cost, to also use that working capital to finance the business,
Mm-hmm.
and to also cover some of the exposure we have with some of our counterparties and using some of the working capital we've already obtained.
Mm. Man. So Tariq, you continue to be that glue guy on and off the court as well.
If you want to, you know what? You can call it that. Yeah, you can call it that. I'm one of the global trade finance managers, so I handle our U.S. division. We have another gentleman in London who handles our European business.
Mm-hmm.
I've handled some of the European business in the past, but it's just hard to win that from the U.S. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult. You have some different relationships, banking relationships, versus the U.S. business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just more strategic and a little bit more sane to work in your time zone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I tell you, man, those lefties, man, those lefties are glue guys, man. And speaking of a lefty, we got Chris says Tariq would be a good coach one day. You ever think about coaching Tariq?
All right, so I got another story for you.
Okay, what you got?
So after I graduated, I was still coming back to Manhattan, right? We'd come back from alumni games, I would come to games.
Yep.
I forgot what year it was. I want to say it was like a year or two after I graduated.
Okay.
Talking to Mr. Burns, and he's checking in with me. And he pulls me over to the side, and he goes, how you doing? Everything's going fine? I said, yeah, everything's great. I'm working with, Mr. O'Malley, and we're doing this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
He said, listen, do you ever think about getting into coaching? And I said, not necessarily. He said, I think that you would be a great coach. From the way that you conduct yourself on the court.
Yep.
Your knowledge. I'm fond of you. The way you would handle certain things. You may want to consider it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, I said, thank you for the compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep it in mind. I never thought about it, but
Right.
I said, I'll be honest with you, from a financial standpoint, I'm making more money than some of the assistant coaches.
That's right. Yes.
So that's kind of hard for me just to kind of give up.
Uh-huh.
He said, I understand. He said, look, I'm sure we'll see each other. Just keep in touch. You never know where, somebody like yourself would be great coming back to, to represent the school again
Mm-hmm.
and do a few things.
Definitely.
And this was, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say this was around the time when Bobby G was there.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that was around the time.
Uh-huh. Man. Oh, you could have been on the staff.
That was one point where that just came up. But other than that, I've coached girls at youth basketball for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved up to Connecticut, I was dabbling on the boys' side, and I got out of it because I found with girls a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
They listen a little bit better.
This is true.
They learn the fundamentals at a higher rate.
Yep.
They're not depending on their athleticism. But when you do get an athletic girl, oof,
Yeah.
it's something incredible. But other than that, I had my own program for about 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That I did up here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got in with somebody else. But other than that, I kept it to that. But and from time to time, I don't do it anymore. I haven't done it in like the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been working with a number of different girls up here
Okay.
who turned out to be pretty good. They're actually like high Division One FBS players. They're good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good, man. That's good stuff. Yeah, man. You just never know, man. You never know. And speaking of basketball, man, I got one last question for you, Tariq, and I appreciate you coming on, man. And we had a lengthy discussion, which is good, because again, I like to hear the glue guys, their stories, man, and how people like yourself can shape programs, and things after life as well. So I'm glad to have you on today, Tariq, man. But one last question, man. So what is the one word that comes to your mind when you hear the word basketball? Is it like one word that comes to your mind when you hear basketball? That's a tough one.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one. One word. One word. Resilience.
In what sense?
In the sense that you need a certain level of resilience to obtain a certain level of success.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be resilient. You got to push through different levels of difficulty, hardship. You're not going to get better until it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it may not even get worse. You just may be at a steady level.
Yeah.
If I think back throughout all the times, coming from high school through college, I had to push through every single level. Whether it was with help from someone else, myself, after an injury, you still have to continue to push through.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. The basketball part of it led to the academic success. You're always still learning. So you to this day, you still got to push through. Look at the day and age we're living in now.
Yes, absolutely. Got to adapt.
You got to push through. You got to be able to recognize when things get hard and say, all right, I got to buckle down and stay focused.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And Russ, one of the things that I'm gonna say about Manhattan too.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a star player. I wasn't a 1,000-point scorer, but one of the things I do think is important, and this goes back to Mr. Carey and Tone in terms of how they helped shape me as a young man.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at some of the guys who came in from Ohalos, like I was the first one, right?
Yep.
And I was Fran's first New York City recruit.
Right.
People may not know this or be aware of it, but look at how many other guys came from Ohalos to Manhattan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm going to throw names. You got Mike Alvarado. You got Darryl Crawford, right?
Yep.
You got Sean Stores,
Mhm.
right? And when you look at each one of those guys, have you seen those guys play over the years?
Yeah.
Have you?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at each one of those guys, they have come here, right, and they have been successful.
Yeah.
Whether they were 1,000-point scorers, won MAC championships,
Mm-hmm.
NCAA championships, currently coaching.
Yep.
Those guys have been successful
Definitely.
because schools like Ohio's prepare you for that next level.
Mm-hmm.
You get hit with some adversity, you know how to handle it. You know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And even if you don't know how to fully deal with it, you at least know how to approach it so you can deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And it's that CHSAA, man. We could talk about it now, how tough it was back then. It was like one of the best conferences in the country, not alone New York City. You know what I mean? And it brings that toughness, like a school like All Hallows, it brings that toughness inside, that resiliency that you talk about there, Tariq, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, for Manhattan as an athletic program to consider guys from Ohio over the years,
Yep.
that just says something about Ohio as a whole. That says something about the school, the program, and the guys who coach there.
Yep. And that says something a lot about the glue guy, my man TARIK Thacker. Tariq, my man, I appreciate you coming on tonight, man, and telling your story, because your story needs to be told. And it's a great story, man. And again, I like to shed light, and I salute you, man, for being that glue guy, man, and being that guy who's always there, to talk about, how your playing days was and how, the impact that you had on a program, the impact that you had from coming from All Hallows to being successful there, to coming to Manhattan College, being successful and being successful in what you do in life now, man. That's all the credit to you, man. That's why I had to have you on there today, man, Tariq. I definitely had to have you on, man.
Thank you, Russ. I appreciate it, man.
You
Keep doing what you're doing, man. It's a good venue. It's a good medium, for the Jasper guys and for others to come and tell their story.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. All right, Tariq, I'll be in touch, brother.
All right, thank you, man.
Okay, you're welcome, man. All right, that was TARIK Thacker, man, one of Manhattan College's finest, one of All Hallows and New York City's finest. This guy we talk about all the time, glue guys. These people, unsung heroes in programs. These guys are unsung heroes, not only on the court but off the court, man. It's great stuff. Great stuff, man. Oh man. Hey, so ladies and gentlemen, if we were able to make you laugh, smile, and think during this broadcast, my good friends, you have accomplished something major. So celebrate your victory. Celebrate your victory. Man, that was some great stuff. Great stuff. Hey, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for you watching Transition Tuesdays, each and every Tuesdays right here. As my man Tariq is joining. What's going on, Tariq, my man? Great stuff, my man. I want to thank TARIK Thacker for coming on the show this week. Appreciate you, Tariq, man. The lefty stroke always looks so smooth, man. Again, it's something about those lefties and being glue guys. I don't know. It's something like, I don't know what it is, but it's some great stuff. Super stuff, man. So, again, if you missed our show, if you missed past shows, I have a YouTube channel called Transition Tuesdays. Check it out. I'll post it there as well. And, love you guys can see our past broadcasts as well. Definitely do that. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching. Appreciate you all. And again, as we always say in parting, happy transitioning. We'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.